The Dragon Prince as a show has quite an interesting relationship with dark magic, and it will be interesting to see how the show explores that relationship as it progresses through its final 4 seasons. Ostensibly, dark magic is evil. There are a lot of, unfortunately, Manichaean elements in Western philosophy that I think have trickled down to us. This association of lightness with good and darkness with evil. This is very visibly demonstrated in just how many people misunderstand the yin-yang symbol. Taoism is an anti-dualistic philosophy and religion, but people impose upon it this sort of artificial duality that is both kind of interesting and kind of unfortunate. It says a lot about how a lot of us think about the world, that even something as anti-dualistic as Tao is somehow always divided into a wrongful dualism. Taoism is part of what is called, to use a technical term, dialectical monism. If you don't know what that is, that's fine. I'll explain it a little as we go along. Don't worry, I'm not going to turn this into a philosophy lecture. We'll get into the Dragon Prince soon. But just some background. Your average person here, walking down the street here in America, would probably say that yin-yang is just about how, oh, there's good and evil in all of us. And whenever I hear that, I'm thankful that they did not say yin, because it's not yin-yang, it's yin-yang. But the bigger problem is the fundamental desire to assign moral dimensions to either side of the divide. Yin is not evil any more than yang is good. A better way to think about it is light and dark, chaos and order. Too much of either extreme throws the self out of balance. It results in one having an unhealthy relationship with themselves and the world. Too much yin and one loses oneself in the darkness and the chaos. Too much yang and one becomes stiff and intellectually desiccated, not really able to reflect on themselves or understand why they believe what they believe. And the division between the two is itself not ontological. It's in our perception. Which doesn't mean it's not real, but it just means that they're two different sides of the same basic reality, the same basic force of energy in life. The same is true of, say, fire and water. To us, they appear opposites, but in reality, once one understands the non-dualistic nature of the world and how the same energy flows through everything, one realizes that these supposed opposites are not that opposite after all. It's all eternally in movement. It's all changing and shifting. And the attempt to try and stabilize it, to try and lock your perception of the world and lock these divisions into these simple binaries, is against the principles of the universe, which are those of change and transformation. Again, sorry for the tangent, I just find Taoism and this dialectical monism quite interesting as a philosophy and a way of thinking about the world, and I find the constant association of darkness with evil quite asinine. But back to the Dragon Prince. I wonder to what extent the Dragon Prince agrees with what I've just said. I'm not quite sure. I cannot get a proper read on what the show believes. I do not think it is unequivocally endorsing the association of elemental magic with all that is good and righteous, and dark magic with all that is evil and villainous. Callum does suffer because he uses dark magic, and Rayla chastises him. I don't think the show is endorsing dark magic by any means, especially considering what the show does with Claudia's story. But on the other hand, you also have the case of Sol Regum, who destroys an entire town just because they use dark magic, and the show is obviously not endorsing that point of view. So what is the show's view of dark magic, and how will Callum use dark magic, perhaps, to help Rayla, the person he loves the most in the world, the person who left him behind, the person who's probably in great danger as of the start of Season 4? Well, instead of associating dark magic with the idea of evil and elemental magic with the idea of good, I think it's much more useful to us if we assign dark magic in association with technology and human action, and we associate elemental magic with the natural world, with the forces outside human control. These are two opposite forces, yes, but to be clear, again, the opposition is not that of simple good versus simple evil. Rather, it's that elemental magic is about existing in harmony with nature, and dark magic is about challenging the forces of nature and channeling the forces of nature to fuel human ambition. Now, in this environmentally conscious age, I think a lot of us would choose elemental magic over dark magic, all other things considered equal. But of course, all other things are not equal in the world of the Dragon Prince, and that is where things get interesting. The humans are at a lack in this world compared with the elves. They have relatively little power and authority, which is why the elves are able to expel them so easily from the more fertile parts of the continent, forcing them into lands that are more desolate, leading to quite a lot of people starving, which leads to Harrow and Sarai's desperate mission to try and bring the heart that they're searching for back from Xadia to the other side of the continent. And we're at a disadvantage in our world as well. Humans, let's admit, we're kind of lame compared with a lot of the other creatures of the natural world. Compared with lions and bears and tigers and hyenas. We're not that fast and we're not that strong. But we are smart and we are good at coordinating, and those two things have allowed us to gain an advantage over our environment. And even into today, technological advances have brought a lot of prosperity to human society. We can fly across oceans in hours on an airplane. We can get in a beautiful, elegant high-speed train, at least if you're in Europe or Asia, not in the United States, but that's another story, and race across the nation. Race around an entire continent and have such a pleasant and easy ride. We have skyscrapers soaring thousands of feet through the clouds. We have systems to heat and cool the air to our liking. We no longer have to worry about spending a lot of money on expensive candles that people go through painstaking labor making out of wax. We have electricity now. We can very easily work into the night as we wish. Back at home, I had 300 books beside me, which doesn't really seem like a lot to me, but that would have been unthinkable for the ordinary person, or even the relatively well-off person just a couple centuries ago. On a larger, more visceral scale, babies rarely die in childbirth, and mothers rarely die giving birth. That's really impressive. Smallpox and tuberculosis used to be vile, terrible illnesses killing millions of people, and now smallpox is gone, and tuberculosis is very rare in the developed world. Modern medicine is an incredible advancement. I could go on, but I think you get my point. I'm not an Elon Musk-like technological utopian by any means, and I'd venture that I have a deeper and more emotionally rich connection with the natural world than a lot of people. But I respect the gains made by technology, so I cannot wholeheartedly reject what dark magic has given humanity, especially considering it has incredible powers, such as the power to raise the dead. I'm not at all surprised that Viren's idea of using dark magic to get back at the elves, who have used their greater magical connection to exert power over humanity, has such pull among the humans. What did the elves think was going to happen when they gave humanity such a raw deal and told humanity they should feel bad for themselves? This is a Treaty of Versailles situation. If, instead of seeking reconciliation, you attempt to destroy the weaker nation that you've triumphed over, and that weaker nation has a lot of potential that they can exercise if they see fit, then when they become disgruntled and disenchanted, they will use that potential to their own advantage, disrupting the cruel peace that was wrought by the conquerors. Bitterness and resentment arise out of the shame of defeat, and there will always be those who take advantage of that bitterness and resentment. However, even if you do not have a problem with the humans using dark magic, does that necessarily mean that Callum would use dark magic to save Rayla? Well, I kind of doubt that something like that would occur. It would certainly demonstrate Callum becoming very desperate and bitter and lonely, especially considering how badly his first experiment with dark magic turned out back in Season 2. He decided definitively against it and was shamed for his use of dark magic by Rayla. And now he has so many elemental magic powers, so it seems strange that he might use dark magic. But there is always the possibility that he might relapse, especially since he has lost the person he cares the most about in the world. He might be pushed to a desperate place. I know Callum would do pretty much anything to save Rayla, and he might have to do a lot considering that saving her might require overcoming not only the growing specter of Erebos, but also his former crush, Claudia, who has descended into dark magic mania. If Callum uses dark magic, that might blur the distinction between him and Claudia, and it would set up an interesting parallel between Callum and his father, Harrow. Harrow, of course, was willing to seek revenge after losing his wife, Sarai, and Viren used dark magic to help King Harrow. And then King Harrow made his choice and grew to regret it. Now, I'm not saying the two situations would be exactly the same. Taking revenge on Avazandum, while reasonable, does nothing to bring Sarai back, whereas if Rayla is currently in danger, then using dark magic might be able to help her. Then again, Rayla is the most ardent voice against dark magic, so even if Callum used it to save her, she might not forgive him for being willing to stoop to using dark magic again. Callum using dark magic would be an agonizing experience for him, but that does not mean it would necessarily be wrong. I'm very interested to see what the show does with Callum's dilemmas about Rayla going forward. So thank you all for watching. If you liked what you saw today, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Donate to my Patreon if you can, and you want to see more videos like this. The link is in the description. Anyway, tune in soon for my next analysis. It will be coming soon. I promise you that. Keep watching The Dragon Prince. Season 4 is going to come out eventually. I'm pretty sure. I don't know when. But what do y'all think about dark magic? Is it as evil as Rayla and a lot of the elves suggest? Or is it more complicated than that? Sound off in the comments. Anyway, adios, comrades.